Hi, this is a video that's going to help us on the problems we did in class for patterns and factors. I created two videos. One is of the problem number 2 and one is problem number 4. So here's problem number 2, which is to determine the present value, time period 0, of the following at 7% interest. So what I did is I broke this cash flow on the left into 3 separate cash flows on the right. And then I'm going to calculate the present value of each of those and then add them up. So on the first one, what it just ends up being is each of those cash flows, I'm bringing them back to a present value by multiplying it by 1 over 1 plus I to the n, which is the same thing as dividing by 1.07 cubed, and then 1.07 to the 4th, and then 1.07 to the 5th. And that will bring all of those back to time period 0. So the next one, I'm going to take those. I see that $100 a time period for 5 time periods is a pattern, which is an A pattern. So I want to calculate the P given A of that. So I'm going to take the $100, multiply it by P given A, 7% for 5 time periods. But the other thing I need to do, which will actually give me a equivalent present value right here, but I need it to be in time period 0. So I'm going to multiply it as if now that dotted line is an F value, and I'm going to multiply it by P given F 7% for 5 time periods to bring it back to the beginning. The next one is the same kind of logic as the previous one. I have 225, and that's an A pattern. So I multiply it by P given A, 7% for 2 time periods, and then I get a equivalent present value right there, but I still need to bring it back to time period 0. So I'm going to now I'm going to treat that dotted line as it's a future value and multiply that whole concept by P given F, 7% for 10 time periods. So in my calculations, I use 7%, but it's going to be the same if you use 6%. I also have a 7% table in my book, so I just put that all together to make it, and the answer is 962.7. I do want to talk that there's actually another way of doing that, and that's to take each of these cash flows on the cash flow diagram on the left and one at a time bring them back to time period 0. So just like I did in the upper right for the 250, 200, and 150 and brought that back to time period 0, I'm just going to do that for all of the cash flows, and I'm still going to get the same answer. So I hope that that's helpful when you look at this particular problem.